program, and that's going to be very devastating for people with disabilities as well as seniors in the state of California. Shall we open it up for questions now? Okay. Here's Janet Canterbury again.
Thanks, Sergio. I just wanted to call your attention before we start questions. The paper in your binder, there's the paper that Sergio talked about, which we handed out. There's the hard copy publication that we handed out. But in your binder, we tried to describe the registries that provide backup services for people now that are provided by the public authorities, and also the hard-to-serve registries. There's several counties that do that. How many people here have not hard to serve? How many people here have backup registries in their county, on-call or emergency backup? Put your hands up high so we can see. So it looks like most of you have emergency backup registries going on in your county through the public authority, which is good. The paper talks about those registries, shows basically how different they all are. Counties design them based on what the needs of their consumers are and the provider population. So you can look at that in the paper. The other thing that's interesting is that with the there is a requirement, the state has a requirement, and we talk about it in here, to get an emergency backup plan from each consumer. It's called SOC 827. So your social worker should be meeting, whenever they do your assessment or your reassessment, should be collecting information on that SOC so that they have that form then in the consumer's file. I'm not exactly sure it does a lot of good, as you all can imagine, and we talk about that a little bit in the paper. I think the danger is with public authorities having reduced funding and reduced staffing, it is possible that these emergency backup service programs will not be used as much and will not be provided as much. So the paper is really a work in progress. Janie just keeps saying this is a work in progress, and there may be changes, there may be all kinds of different things that are going on with respect to these things, but the general idea is that we have been providing these services through public authorities, and that actually may not be quite as prevalent in the future as it's been. So let's open it up for questions and comments now. Yes, in the back. Here comes the mic.
One. Just shout.
That's better.
There we go. I'll just shout. I'm the systems change advocate, community advocate here with Silicon Valley Independent Living Center here in San Jose. We are very interested in fact, Heidi Cartan, whom Sergio mentioned, is our board chair. We are very interested in peer mentoring programs of the kind you describe at Laguna Honda because we're starting one soon. And my question is, how do you get such a program off the ground? Where do you find the original pool of peer mentors when you haven't really had a program before? What do you do? Put an ad in the Metro Weekly that say, attention, if you've been out of a nursing home for more than 10 years.
You know, that's a great question. Basically, when we started in August 2008, when I came back to the San Francisco Public Authority for the third time, because I had gone off also, Fran told you, I was also the executive director in Yolo County, and I left to become also, this is earlier, and I'll answer your question, sir, in a minute. I also became the first discharge liaison IHSS social worker in San Francisco in 1999, and they pulled me away from Donna and the public authority, which I hated to leave, but this was a great opportunity because my job description was I would be the one going into the 11 hospitals in San Francisco and actually had the power to do the evaluations to the disabled who were in their hospital beds waiting to be discharged. And I did the evaluation, and I was the one that actually figured out how many hours they were going to need when they got discharged, IHSS hours, so that they could hire a home care worker and stay and remain independent. But in answer to your question with regards to peer mentoring, that's a very interesting question. What I did was, number one, I had the advantage of actually working for in 1996 for the public authority, so I knew most of the community services. I knew many of the disabled in San Francisco. And what I did is, in 2008, August, I went to the paratransit meetings. I went to a lot of meetings like that where I knew there were dynamic young disabled people, and I knew a little bit of their history. Some of them came out of institution 10 years ago after being shot, and they had a spinal cord injury at St. Mary's, and I started talking to them and letting them know that as the peer mentor coordinator, as I was in the beginning, and I still am, I'm looking for a person, and this is the way I came on pretty strong. I said, look, anytime you help somebody out of Laguna Honda working for me and the public authority, basically, you're going to see God. And then I was very passionate. I went on and I said, look, you have been independent for 10 years. I know your history. You came out of St. Mary's Rehab. You were a spinal cord injured. You've never gone back to institution. Would you like to be a peer mentor? I'll have you trained. A 9-hour course, teachers from independent living in San Francisco. And we're going to try to get a group together. So I got 17 of these. Pretty dynamic individual, all with orthopedic disabilities, all of them in either power chairs like mine or manual chairs. So they were all disabled. So my idea was to have them go into Laguna Honda in the future after their training, and basically with their experience, I said, you don't need, many of them would say, Sergio, do you have a chapter or a book on peer mentoring? And I said, no. You know where it is? It's in you, because you've done it and you've lived independently and you're doing it successfully. You've never had to go back into an institution. So all I'm asking to do basically is to teach and counsel people from Laguna Honda who have made it known that they want to live independently. They'll be referred to me, and I'll match them up with you, and that's how we basically started. And I hired 17. We started paying them $20 an hour, and we still do. And that's the difference between our peer mentoring group and others in the city and county, is that they basically are not, other peer mentor groups don't pay that high a rate as we do, because what they're doing is invaluable. They're basically just teaching them what the mentors are teaching the mentees, what they learned to become independent and what kind of resources they needed to get to independent living and to remain independent. And that's the kind of passion I have instilled in them. And that comment, I'm sorry, I'm not too religious, but I do believe basically that if Jesus Christ were alive today, he'd be in Laguna Honda helping those who want to become independent. He'd help them become independent. And that's what I told the peer mentors, your role is